Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sedacca. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sedacca.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedacca, and welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. This is the first show, and I wanted to introduce myself to you, give you an idea of what I'm about, and open the door to communicating with you about a lot of issues that are really, really important in life. Obviously, we're going to be talking about challenges that are faced by those who are divorcing or have been divorced. We're going to talk about issues related to dating, being single, being a single parent, and everything that involves. And we're going to talk about the various other factors that make up an empowered life and empowered living, because if we don't focus on empowered living, then we're setting ourselves up for disappointment in life, and we're cheating ourselves. So it's really, really important that we live the best lives we possibly can. And that's what I'm here to do, is work with you and support you in finding solutions and answers and insights so that you could do the best you can, do even better than you ever have before, and make your life the fulfilling experience that you want and certainly deserve. Make sense? I thought so. I think so as well. So, let's get on. I thought I would begin by giving you a little background about my own story, who I am. Right now, I am a divorce and parenting coach and founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network for Parents, which is a really important international organization that focuses on the well-being of families, mothers, fathers, and children when divorce is taking place. I'm the author of How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce, which is a very unique ebook that focuses on supportive way to break the tough divorce news to children so that they aren't feeling overwhelmed and frightened by the future that's looming ahead. And I've also created several courses and books and digital programs on co-parenting successfully and effectively so parents can move ahead with skills, confidence, work out their conflict, work out disagreements, and make the very best decisions on behalf of their children before, during, and long after divorce. My world also has taken me into the world of being single after divorce. And that's what I faced when I was divorced and moved out into dating again. And so I focus a lot on dating in midlife especially. Dating after you've been married for a while or in a committed relationship for a while, and suddenly you're thrown back into the world of being single, starting over, but you're starting over perhaps with children and with other life experience, with other life challenges. You're not a kid anymore, and you're facing things that are just different, things that are in many ways more difficult. You're more set in your ways. The people around you and the people you're dating are more set in their ways. And suddenly life can be a bit overwhelming or frightening, or you feel insecure, or you have certain kind of doubts about yourself and your value, or you're afraid you'll never find real love again, or you're afraid your children will be affected by this facet of your life, and it's very frightening for you. And you may be having issues regarding finances and employment and just getting back into standing on your own 2 feet. So we address a lot of issues like that, and that's what I've been doing as a singles relationship coach for both women and men. And then the third facet of what we're addressing and who and what I am is a life coach talking about personal growth issues and challenges. In other words, finding ways to live in the most empowered way possible, especially ways to transform our lives so that We're finding meaning, we're finding purpose, fulfillment, happiness, satisfaction, and peace of mind, which to me is so, so important. That sense of peace, security, sanity, just a sense of knowing I belong here, I'm happy here, I'm contributing to the world, I'm contributing to my family, I'm contributing to my own life, I'm making a difference because of who I am, and I'm working on myself to feel better about myself and to be a role model for all those around me. So this is something that I know everyone is dealing with on one level or another, and those who gravitate towards my programs are usually those who are really attracted to learning more about themselves and being the best version of themselves they can be. And that's what I really want to focus on. It's doing the inner work. So I want to tell you a bit about my own story because I evolved just as you are evolving, going through experiences, and that's what brought me here to be with you today. Many years ago, I was married for a long time, for close to 20 years, and I had a son. And my marriage was getting very frustrating and disappointing and depressing for me because I wasn't happy. My husband wasn't a bad person, but we were fighting regularly about our son, about other issues, and we were just moving in different directions in our lives. Life wasn't fulfilling, life wasn't happy, and I was riddled with guilt about wanting to leave the marriage, and so I stayed and stayed and stayed. And it was a process of close to 10 years in which I tried to figure out whether I was bad and wrong for wanting to get out of the marriage or if there was something really wrong with my husband or the way we were married. And the confusion and indecision had me spinning for a long, long time. And I sought out therapy, and it was very helpful. I sought out spiritual guides and other means of personal growth, workshops, seminars. I did it all. And ultimately, it did work. I reached a point when I knew that in my particular situation, I needed to divorce, get out of the relationship, and move ahead. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life to make that decision. And my husband was not happy at all about it, and he was making me feel very, very guilty, especially about hurting my son. And that kept me from making any decisions for several years towards the end. And finally, my son was having showing symptoms of getting headaches and stress because he was hearing us fighting, and he was part of the family dynamic that wasn't a happy one. And I realized that I was not doing him any favors by raising him in that kind of a toxic environment, and finally made the decision to leave and ask for a divorce. And once I made that decision, then I was facing the decision of how to break that news to my son, who was very close to both me and to his father. We both loved him, and I knew this was going to be a very, very difficult piece of news for him and a difficult process. So I sought out resources on how to tell children about divorce, and while there were articles and books that talked about what to say, there was really nothing out there talking about how to say it. And finally, I spent weeks and weeks of sleepless nights tossing and turning, trying to come up with a solution of what would work to minimize the trauma for my son. And one night at 4 a.m, I came up with an idea that sounded and felt really right on. It just felt like something I can do and should do. And I do need to tell you, I have a background as a writer. I was a professional advertising and marketing copywriter for many, many years before this. And so I had confidence in my writing ability, and I had a strong background in psychology and sociology, and felt I had a deep understanding about what my son was feeling and would be feeling when he was faced with learning the news that his parents were getting a divorce. And I put all that together and came up with what I'm calling a storybook. And that was taking a photo album and putting in photos of the way my husband and I met before we were married, during the early years of our marriage, and then when we had my son, my being pregnant, and then his being a baby, and the first few years of our marriage when he was growing up. And my son was 11 years old at the time when I finally decided to get the divorce. So we followed life right up to the present time with pictures of wonderful holidays, vacations, birthdays, school events, sports, all the things that families experience. And I wove in with those pictures the text that I wrote. And the story in the book was about the fact that my son may very well be aware that life at home doesn't feel the way it used to. We had wonderful times as a family, as you could see from these pictures as a reminder. And Mom and Dad loved each other very much for many, many years, as you can see in these pictures. But things have changed, and there's been a lot of tension and conflict at home. And Mom and Dad have decided that for everyone to feel happier and more peaceful in life, it would be best for us to live in two different homes. And that was the most important message, is that this was a decision that Mom and Dad both made, and the purpose of that decision was to help everyone feel better, because the time that he would spend with his mom would be better, the time he would spend with his dad would be better, everyone in the family would be happier. And the important thing to remember is what I explained in the text, is that we are still a family. Despite the fact that we are going to get a divorce, the form of the family may be changing, but we will always be a family. And I shared the key messages that are so important for every child to hear, which I knew on a very deep gut level. And the first is, this is not your fault. The second is, you are and always will be safe, because kids feel very, very insecure about themselves and the world when divorce is something that comes into their lives. The third message is, Mom and Dad will always be your parents, no matter what. You're not losing your mom or your dad. The fourth message was, Mom and Dad will always love you. And that's so important, because children are very apt to think that if Mom and Dad got a divorce and stopped loving each other, maybe at some point they'll stop loving me. So we have to reassure children with strength and repeatedly with that message. The fifth is that this is about change, not about blame. And this was very, very important to get Mom and Dad both on the same page. We're not talking about blaming one another or judging one another, and we don't want our child to be faced with having to do that or having to defend one parent against the other. So we talk about change as a natural part of life. We change grades in school, the seasons change, our haircuts change, fashions change. So many things change in life, and this is just another change in the form of our family, and that makes it much easier to accept as a normal process in life and not something that is doomed. And the last message is, things will work out okay, so it's okay for you to relax and trust Mom and Dad, because we're taking care of everything. And what I did is put the text and the photos in this photo album and called it The Story About Our Family. And at the time of breaking the divorce news to my son, we read this to him and gave him the book to read through. And it made it more comforting for him to see the pictures and remember the good times. And then when he started tearing up, as we all did, and we were all weeping together about what's happening in the future, we were there to hug one another and remind one another that while we're changing, we're still a family, and we'll always be Mom and Dad to our son. And the beauty of this particular format was that he could read that storybook over and over again in the days, weeks, and months that passed to remind him of those important messages. And it worked out very, very successfully. My son, of course, was not happy about hearing about the divorce. It was very traumatic for him. It was traumatic for everyone, as divorce is in a family. But we got through it in good shape. We realized, my husband and I realized, that we had to co-parent in the best possible way for our son, and that the most stressful situation for him was when we were fighting, when he was around conflict. So we learned that keeping our conflict separate from our son was priority number one, and we did that. And we found that we were able to cooperate with one another and co-parent with one another and make decisions that were in the best interest of our child in the deepest, truest sense, not in the sense that we hear as platitudes, but in a very real sense that this is something we really want to do because we both love our son. And we co-parented and raised him to adulthood. And we were quite pleased with the outcome of our situation. And one day, when my son was in his early 20s, out of the blue, he came to me and he said, "You know, Ma, you and Dad did such a good job with the divorce. I just wanted to thank you because most of my friends whose parents divorced, they either hate their parents or they were so hurt and broken up by this situation that they're still traumatized. And I don't feel any of that, so I just wanted to thank you." And I let out a sigh of relief. It was the sigh that I was holding on to for the last 20 years, realizing that when you're divorcing, you're filled with guilt and fear and anxiety about how this may affect your child. And I was so relieved. And at that point, I said to myself, you know, you really have something to share with other people. Your storybook concept can be shared with other people, and your co-parenting experiences and tips. And that's the point at which I founded the Child-Centered Divorce Network for Parents, which is now an international organization on 5 continents. And that's when I wrote, How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce? Create a storybook guide to preparing your children with love. And that's an ebook. It's an ebook that when you purchase it, you download the text, and there's age-appropriate templates that allow you to customize the templates with information about you and your family and your children. No 2 families are the same. No 2 divorces are the same. So this lets you customize the text, and when you complete it, most of the text is written by me, including those 6 key messages every child needs to hear. Then you download the text, print it out, and put it into a photo album, as I did all those years ago. Add your own family photos, and when the children read this book, it's about only them and their family and the messages you want to share. So it's very personalized, very customized, and it's very helpful for children to get them started on the right place, and even more important, to get both parents on the same page, because part of the book has the contribution from 6 psychotherapists who talk about divorce and parenting, the effect on children, the mistakes to avoid, the best ways to approach parenting, and lots of guidelines and suggestions and tips. And so that was put together in my ebook, and people have been getting that for the last 10 years. We are about to celebrate our 10th anniversary in 2017. So this is a very exciting time for me. And then I founded the Child-Centered Divorce Network with all the resources that we provide. And there's personal coaching services that I offer via phone and Skype or in person, as well as ebooks and courses and programs and articles and expert interviews and media interviews and tons of information, advice, and tips for anyone moving through divorce before, during, and after, especially co-parenting after divorce, because you could be divorced for 5 years and still have issues coming up. And so we're there for you. And the website just gets deeper and deeper and richer with information and articles and support for everyone who is dealing with divorce and parenting, co-parenting, and the many challenges connected, as well as moving into blended families. So we take the child-centered divorce, and from that pivotal point, with all that we offer, I started moving into telling people about how to get into feeling good about being on their own again, being single, dating, relating, and looking for healthier relationships ahead when the time is right. And there's a lot of advice on dating after divorce because that's a very important transition point, and you want to do that right. My sister, Amy Sherman, is a licensed mental health counselor in Florida, and she collaborated with me on creating several books and courses for women and men who are dating and in relationships and want to find healthier relationships than the ones in the past. So the book we wrote together, the physical book, is called 99 Things Women Wish They Knew Before Dating After 40, 50, and yes, 60. And that book is available on Amazon as well as off of our website. And the book is filled with quick and easy to digest tips, 99 tips that really help a woman make a transition into feeling good about being single, back on the marketplace, and doing dating right. We also created the Women Dating Rescue 10-week e-course, and that's a digital program, and every week you get another section that has reading material and advice, tips, exercises, and personal growth processes that you can do. It's very customizable, so it's adapted to where you're at, and it really helps you make the steps from dealing with whatever insecurities and issues and questions you may have about being single and getting out into the dating world, and transitioning into knowing when you've really found a good partner, when you found a keeper, mistakes to avoid, red flag warning signs when you're in an abusive relationship, and everything in between. So we're very proud of that 10-week program, WomenDatingRescue.com. And we also created the Create Your Ideal Relationship Kit, which is also filled with quizzes and exercises and processes that you can take. And when you move through that material, you feel more empowered and confident in getting out and feeling good about who you are as a single in the dating world. And that's available to check out at WomenDatingAfter40.com. That's WomenDatingAfter40.com. And then we moved ahead and created a program especially for men found at mensdatingformula.com. Mensdatingformula.com. And this is a 2-part program that men can read and complete processes as well. And the program gives them a lot of insight into what women are looking for in a relationship, because when men get all their advice from one another, they really are set off in the wrong track. And so there's a lot of insights and tips and advice that will help men make better decisions and understand what relationships mean from a woman's perspective so that they can adapt and be the very best potential partner they can be. So Amy and I get together and we do a lot of media interviews, and we do live workshops as well as teleseminars and webinars for singles groups. and we share different kinds of information, but all of our information comes from a psychological perspective. We're talking about working on from the inside out. We're looking at relationships from a personal growth arena and not focusing on tricks and tips for dating when rules and quick and easy things that you remember or memorize, or flirting techniques. And there's a lot of superficial things out there that are not impressive to me at all. And so what we are offering is a whole different level of support and advice. And we come from the inside, where the emotional scars are, where the wounds are, where the insecurities come from, and we help you undo those, work through them, release them, let go. And when you let go of baggage and fears and doubts and insecurities, you exude a different kind of energy. You attract a different kind of person. And we are here to help you attract the highest, most quality partner possible for you, so that you have no regrets, so that you feel that you are being supported and loved and cared about, and that you feel empowered in your life. You're not settling. You're not coming from a place of, I don't deserve any better. We don't want to see women being abused on any level, and so all of our work is life-supporting and mentoring and empowering, and we feel really good about that. That's something that's very meaningful. So the other part of the equation in this show is empowered living, and that is really about the fact that you can't move ahead and do anything well in life if you're not coming from a place of security and confidence, high self-esteem, self-love, knowing your value, knowing your worth. And so all the tips and the resources we provide and everything we offer on this program will be coming from that place of empowered living. And yes, we'll answer questions. Yes, we're going to have lots of guest experts to interview and speak to and learn from, because I never stop learning. None of us should ever stop learning. And we're here for you. If there's specific issues you have, we'd love to hear from you, and then we can provide answers or tips or special programs or workshops that are going to address the needs you have, the issues you have. So we want to interact with you and encourage you to get in touch with us. And I want to give you the many websites that you can find us at, because that will be helpful for you as well. So for divorce-related issues, you can find me at childcentereddivorce.com. For issues relating to dating and relationships, you can visit womendatingafter40.com, also womendatingrescue.com, and mensdatingformula.com. You can also visit Amy Sherman, my sister, who's a mental health counselor, at babyboomersnetwork.com. And so when you're visiting those resources, one thing you can count on, it's filled with valuable content and information. We're not into selling things. We're into providing services and resources that you can count on, that you can depend on, that you know are coming from a place of the highest quality, the highest caliber. We also have another website for those who may be dealing with high conflict divorce and relationships in high conflict, and we offer another level of support for people who need or are court-ordered to deal with high conflict relationships. One other thing is that we have blogs on several of the websites, So you can follow us on the blogs and comment on the blogs. You'll also find us on Facebook, and not only by our names as well, you'll also find us on Child-Centered Divorce on Facebook. And on LinkedIn, I have a huge group of followers under Child-Centered Divorce as well. We have Twitter accounts. We're on Google+. We're on Pinterest. So you could find us around and share information that we're providing for you and tell us about what you like and what you'd like to see on the show. I'm excited to be doing this with you. I look forward to meeting you and talking to you, and I encourage you to step up and get involved in as many ways as you can. This is an exciting time for us all. So welcome again to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. This is Rosalind Sedacca. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.